Good morning, it's Friday the 21st of February. You're tuned in to our 10 a.m. newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. In highly emotional scenes, more than 80 Korean families separated during the Korean War reunite for the first time in 6 decades. The second day of the reunion event is already underway at the North Mount Kumgang resort. Korea's figure skating queen Kim Yeon-ah falls just short of winning back-to-back Olympic golds, bagging a silver after Russian Adilina Sotnikova surpasses her total score by more than 5 points. Plus, more viewers in the US will have access to Arirang TV courtesy of DirecTV, one of the world's leading providers of digital television entertainment services with more than 285 channels. Now, there is sure to be plenty more tears of joy and sorrow today on the second day of reunions for families separated since the Korean War, and it's already underway at the North Mount Kumgang resort. More than 80 families from both sides of the border will meet on 3 separate occasions on this Friday, with each session lasting for 2 hours. The first individual meetings between separated family members began at 9 this morning, that's about an hour ago, and will run until 11 a.m. They'll follow that up with a group luncheon at noon and then a third event that begins at 2 p.m. where all separated families will gather together for a ceremony. This first round of reunions ends Saturday and will be followed by a second round with new participants from Sunday through Tuesday. Korea has slammed Japan for considering plans to re-examine a statement issued by the Japanese government in 1993, in which Tokyo apologized for its military's coercion of women into sexual slavery during World War II. An official from Korea's foreign ministry said questioning the coercion of victims and the Japanese military's management of the brothels is unacceptable, and demanded that it withdraw from launching a government-led team to review the statement. On Thursday, Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said Tokyo may look into verifying the accuracy of interviews of 16 Korean women who said they were forced to serve as prostitutes for Japan's wartime military. The 1993 apology issued by then Chief Cabinet Secretary Yohei Kono acknowledged the tens of thousands of women who were forced to serve Japanese soldiers during World War II. The remaining Korean survivors from the Egypt bus bombing returned home on Thursday exhausted and extremely emotional. 3 members of their tour group and their Egyptian driver were killed on Sunday when a suicide bomber blew up their bus near the Egypt-Israel border. Paul Lee reports.
4 days after a horrifying attack on their tour bus, the second and final group of Korean tourists arrived back home Thursday after their ill-fated trip to Egypt. Upon their arrival, the 15 remaining victims were rushed to local hospitals for medical checkups, with some needing urgent operations for untreated shrapnel wounds.
We have a member who got a laceration on the leg but couldn't get an operation. The bleeding hasn't stopped.
And those who don't have external injuries are also suffering from hearing impairments from the bus explosion.
Along with medical records they brought, we will start examinations. Treatment will depend on the test results.
The tourists, who were part of a church-organized pilgrimage, were traveling from St. Catherine's Monastery, a popular tourist destination in southern Sinai, to Israel when they were attacked on Sunday. An al-Qaeda-inspired terrorist group in the region has claimed responsibility for the bombing and has since warned all tourists to leave the country or risk further attacks. The body of Choi Jin-soo, who was killed trying to block the suspected suicide bomber, arrived on a separate flight on Thursday. Meanwhile, the bodies of 2 other Koreans are scheduled to return Friday afternoon, accompanied by their families. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Yes, and that certainly wasn't Paul Lee, that was our Kim Min-ji reporting there. Now, some news that you K-pop fans out there won't want to miss. A musical that stars K-pop idols and tells the story of how the global K-pop craze started back, all the way back in the 1990s, comes to the stage on this Friday. Our cultural correspondent Park Ji-won reports.
Set in 1994, this dance musical takes audiences to a club called Moon Night. Moon Night was a real club that existed in Itaewon, Seoul during the 1990s and is considered to be the place where K-pop dance music began. Legendary Korean dancers of the time converged on the club, and many of them became the first generation of stars on the Korean dance music scene. Yang Hyun-seok, former member of the legendary Korean dance group Seotaeji and Boys, and now a founder of the major K-pop label YG Entertainment, which created huge K-pop stars like Big Bang and 21. Park Jin-young, the famous dancer and singer and founder of another major K-pop company, JYP Entertainment, which represents K-pop groups like 2PM and Missy. Both frequented the club along with many others. That's why music insiders say Moon Night was the birthplace of Hallyu. To tell the story of this epic club, members of current K-pop idol group M-Black, Seung-ho and Chun-dong star in the musical, along with actor and b-boy Park Jae-min and global award-winning b-boys.
People nowadays know about Korean K-pop at 2010s, but actually K-pop history started from 1980s. You can see the culture of 80s, but the most recent dance, old songs, but new fashions and old cultures. You can see a lot of things just mix it in the same show. So just hopefully a lot of people will like that kind of mixture of K-pop history.
The musical provides everything from flashy dance moves to heart-touching scenes, so I hope audiences can have fun and enjoy themselves for the 100 minutes of the show's running time.
The musical opens this Friday and will run until March 23rd at Sejong M Theater at the Sejong Center for the Performing Arts. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Arirang now on DirecTV.
It's about 10 minutes past 10 a.m. on Friday here in Seoul and around 5:10 p.m. on Thursday in Los Angeles. We've reported to you that Arirang TV has expanded its global reach in the US courtesy of DirecTV, America's #1 satellite television provider. Arirang TV is now available on DirecTV on channel 2095. And to celebrate this special occasion, we are going to connect live to our very own Sean Lim, who's standing by at our studio over there in Los Angeles. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Mark. Well, many DirecTV customers in the United States may be happy to see Arirang TV in their channel lineup. Now, DirecTV, which is based here in Southern California, is a satellite-based television service that competes with cable TV. And as of yesterday, Arirang became one of DirecTV's public interest channels, so that means HD subscribers don't have to pay any extra money to enjoy Arirang TV programming.
That's great. And Sean, you and several of our colleagues have been working in Los Angeles for the past week or so, and we'd be very interested to see what you guys have been doing over there.
Right, well, our team was here in Los Angeles to cover the DirecTV launch. We also delved further into the debate into the Comfort Women statue placed outside of Glendale City Hall. It's an exact replica of the original situated in front of the Japanese embassy in Seoul. And our Hwang Jie covered this story and met with key people who are bringing this humanitarian issue to light. And Jie, hello there.
Sean, I'm at the Glendale Central Park where the Comfort Woman statue sits in. Glendale city officials and a local Korean-American group say the bronze statue is about remembering the past and educating the future. Since being installed last summer, the Comfort Woman Memorial statue in the city of Glendale has been at the center of controversy. The statue honors 200,000 women, mostly Korean, who were forced into prostitution for the Japanese military during World War II. Phyllis Kim, a member of the Korean-American Forum of California, which led the charge to get the monument up, hopes the bronze statue educates people.
We want the people to know about the pains and sufferings of the victims and what really happened during 1930s and World War II to these women.
City officials have been under a lot of pressure to remove the statue through thousands of emails and phone calls, some even from the Japanese government. Glendale City Council member Ara Najarian says, however, that removal is not an option.
Several things for those that want to remove it. The first thing is that this statue will not be removed. It will not be taken away forever.
All this is adding pressure on the Japanese government, which has been taking an aggressive nationalistic stance recently. Representative Adam Schiff, who along with two other lawmakers sent a letter to Secretary of State John Kerry asking him to address comfort women issues with the Japanese government, says that such views are broadly held among American politicians. Representative Schiff was also a strong supporter of a 2007 resolution on the issue of comfort women.
They should hear an apology. And they should not hear any prominent officials in Japan speaking either with deliberate ambiguity or worse, with denial about this chapter in history.
And many residents here in Glendale say they're proud that the community they're included in is acting on an issue that needs recognition, putting the risky nationalism in Japan in an even riskier position.
It's good. In Glendale, we have a lot of Asian community, the people, and they live here. We love to have them, so why not be supporting them?
I think the concept of it is really great. I think that if it's something that needs to be recognized and apologized for, then to have a piece of work to represent something like that is pretty
and to
awesome.
be in a neighborhood where we can say they did it here, which is kind of special.
I like the fact that they chose our park to develop this honoring statue.
The local Korean-American group is aiming to set up more comfort women statues in other cities, but it's kept as a top secret as they're facing strong opposition. Sean?
All right, thanks, Jihye. And in another hot issue here in the U.S., a new law in the state of Virginia to reform school textbooks seems imminent. Our Kim Manul over in Washington, D.C. has more on the grassroots efforts to adopt the proper usage of the name EC when describing the body of water separating Korea and Japan. Hanul.
Yes, Sean. The bill is waiting for final approval from Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, and sources say it will likely take place in a quiet manner by the end of this month. Well, there was some political opposition to stop this bill, but educators are welcoming the news. Well, I had a chance to sit down with a public school official in Virginia to discuss the impact this will have on the students.
Textbook publishers supplying new textbooks to Virginia's public schools in 2016 will be required to add the name EC to reference the body of water separating Korea and Japan alongside the name Sea of Japan. This means by 2017, students will likely see both names in maps and history books and atlases. Since 6 other schools in the region also purchased textbooks from the same big-name publishers, the move will affect 7 states in total. An education official from Fairfax County, Virginia, where 40,000 out of 1.1 million residents are Korean, believes the change will have a positive impact on students.
I think it's helpful to have the EC designation in the textbooks because we are a very diverse community, and in addition, it's good for students to hear other perspectives, why certain populations might feel a way about a name. I think it brings up a good conversation topic in the classroom.
High support from Korean American voters in electing Virginia's new governor also played a role in passing the bill.
It's more of a political issue in Virginia. Our current Korean American population in Virginia is 82,000. Our Japanese American population is only 19,000. So I think it was easy for the Korean Americans to make their case politically. They did play a role.
Following the success in Virginia, the grassroots movement is spreading to other states as well. Most recently, Maryland, also the state of New York, New Jersey, and California pushing to pass a similar bill. Back to you, Sean.
All right, thanks, Hanul. And that does it for us here from our Los Angeles studio at our sister station, RKTV. DirecTV subscribers with access to Arirang TV can now turn to channel 2095 or request it from their operator. Mark, back to you in Seoul.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean. And it was quite disturbing to hear that the Japanese government on Thursday said it would re-examine its past statement acknowledging coercion of women of sexual slavery during World War II. Well, let's hope there's more momentum here.
I certainly hope efforts to promote a right understanding of history bears fruit in the U.S. and around the world.
You're right, Sean. Well, it's been great to speak to you, and we'll be speaking to you again, I believe, at noon Korea time.
Good morning, everyone. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. We start in Ukraine, where there has been a dramatic escalation in the violence between protesters and riot police in Kiev, with at least 75 people reported killed since Tuesday. Protest medical officials say, however, more than 100 people have died. Amid the worsening unrest, the European Union has decided to impose sanctions on Ukrainian officials responsible for violence and excessive force. Some positive developments have emerged from international talks on Tehran's disputed nuclear program, and the UN Atomic Agency reports that Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium has fallen significantly. Iran has agreed on a framework for the next 4 months with 6 world powers, the United States, China, Russia, Britain, France, and Germany, in Vienna on a deal to limit its nuclear activities. The next round of talks will take place on March 17th, again in Vienna. The West wants to eradicate Iran's capability to build nuclear weapons, while Tehran is aiming to have tough international sanctions lifted. Despite the good start, experts say the process will be a complicated one. The shoe bomb warning issued for airlines in the United States may be linked to Al-Qaeda. A federal law enforcement official said recent intelligence suggests that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and a bomb maker by the name Ibrahim al-Asiri is linked to the threat. The Department of Homeland Security issued a warning to airlines on Wednesday to watch out for explosives hidden in the shoes of passengers. Now over in Beijing, high level of air pollution is raising concerns. The Chinese capital has issued its first pollution alert as weather authorities are forecasting heavy smog over the next 3 days. Beijing is under a so-called yellow alert, the second highest level out of a 4-color coded system introduced in October last year. China's environmental monitoring agencies rated the concentration of fine dust particles at 374 micrograms per cubic meter as of Friday morning. Authorities are asking the elderly to refrain from outdoor activities, for people to use public transportation, and to wear masks. And that wraps up the world news for this hour, but I'll be back with more later in the day.
Talk about a home field advantage, as the figure queen Kim Yeon-ah was given a free skating score that shocked the entire nation. Going very last in a group of 24 skaters, it was going to be a close race to the finish. Despite a near-flawless performance on the free skating program, the 2010 Vancouver gold medalist was given a 144.19 for a total of 219.11 and wins the silver medal. And despite a noticeable mistake on one of her landing, Russia's Adelina Sotnikova scores a 149.95 in the free skating program, as she claims the gold medal after scoring a total of 224.59. Now, Italy's Carolina Kostner would finish third in the event after scoring a 142.61 in the free skating program, as many fans are questioning the scoring made by the judges in this event. And with that, moving over to the current medal count after 13 days of competition in Sochi. And as we take a look here, we see that Norway is in control with a total of 10 gold medals so far, with the U.S. moving up to second with 8 gold, followed by Germany with 8 gold medals, but just 16 overall medals. Russia now has 7 gold medals, and Canada in 5th with also 7 gold medals. Meanwhile, with Kim Yeon-a's silver medal, Korea now sits at 15th with 2 gold, 2 silver, and 1 bronze medal. Now, as we edge closer to the climax of the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, the spotlight gradually shifts over to the next host city, the Korean resort town of Pyeongchang. To hear what Pyeongchang has learned from Sochi and what to expect during the closing ceremony, Arirang News' Song Ji-san sat down with the head of Pyeongchang's organizing committee.
For the over 200 personnel dispatched to Sochi from Pyeongchang, nothing is too big or too small to go unchecked or unobserved. The pressure is on, as in less than 4 years' time, the eyes of the world will be focused on whether Pyeongchang is ready to take up the mantle as an Olympic host city. As the next in line, how would the chief organizer of Pyeongchang 2018 rate the way the Sochi Games have been run?
Overall, we believe it was a successful Olympic Games. Sochi 2014 had all the big venues in one place at the Olympic Park. The weather and the volunteers were also very pleasant. Pyeongchang is more compact due to the fact that all our clusters are within 30 minutes of each other. But after studying the way it is organized here, we want to reinforce the efficiency of our venues.
With the curtain drawing down on Sochi, the world will watch as the Olympic flag is passed to the Korean delegation during Sunday's closing ceremony. The ceremony is expected to culminate with a grand performance of Korean dance and various mixes of Korea's traditional song, Arirang.
Korea is relatively less well known than many other countries around the world, so we want to incorporate that mysterious Oriental side when introducing Pyeongchang. And as Pyeongchang 2018 marks the 30th anniversary of this whole Summer Olympics in 1988, we want to portray Korea, now a developed country, from a country that was catching up with others 3 decades ago.
Kim adds it is crucially important Korea does more than just host the games. He says the nation's athletes need to win medals.
Aside from everything else, what really counts is how well the host country's athletes do. Russia has succeeded in that up until now, and I want to stress that Korea must work together to boost our chances. I've seen the potential we have, not just in skating, but in winter sliding events and freestyle skiing. I'm sure Korean athletes can make Pyeongchang their stage in 4 years' time.
Song Ji-sun, Arirang News, Sochi.
And that's going to do it for me. This has been SJ. See you guys again for your sports needs.
Okay, time now to check in on the weather conditions in Korea and around the world. And that's all for now. Thanks ever so much for joining us. We'll be back at noon Korea time. That's in about an hour and a half's time. But in the meantime, you can always catch up with what's been happening on our website at arirang.co.kr/news.